Hello friends, good afternoon. Good afternoon guys, am I audible and visible? Good afternoon Nisha. Yes, somebody please ping me if I'm audible and visible so that I can start with today's session. Yes guys, yes, good afternoon Nivedita. Good afternoon Bimol. Am I audible and visible? Somebody please ping me so that I can begin with today's session. Okay guys. So hello everyone. Hi, this is Alok Ojha. Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. And today we are going to cover one of the most important dynasties, particularly Vijayanagar dynasty or Vijayanagar Empire. Now, in the region around Vijayanagar, there were four major dynasties which ruled consecutively, one after the other. Okay? The first one was Sangam dynasty, followed by Salua, Tuluva, and Aravidu dynasty. And the kingdom of Vijayanagar, it majorly encompasses particularly the region of major parts of Karnataka, certain parts of Andhra, certain parts of Telangana, certain parts of what we say Tamil Nadu. Okay. So Vijayanagar Empire had four major dynasties which ruled consecutively one after the other. So what was the contribution of different rulers? Apart from this, what is the Nyankar system that was being initiated at that time by Raya II? Is the Nyankar system similar to the feudalism of Europe and the Ikta system that was being initiated by slave dynasty ruler Iltutmish? So today we are going to understand these aspects in depth and detail. Okay? Now for that sake, if you open up any book and if you start reading, the first thing that will crop up like who was the founder of Vijayanagar Empire? The answer to this question is Harihara and Bukka. So where did they started, what we say, where did they establish the empire? Were they feudatories of Hoysalas? Or were they feudatories of the Kakatiyas of Warangal? So there's a dissenting opinion of different historians at that time. Okay? Now you have to pay attention carefully so that we can understand the viewpoint of different historians. Some trace their origin to the feudatories of Kakatiyas. Some trace their origin, Harihara and Bukka, as the feudatories of what we say, Hoysalas. So some sources, what we say the Kannada origin, and some sources say it about the Telugu origin. So let's understand the viewpoint of the different historians. Okay. Now pay attention carefully. Vijayanagar Kingdom or the region of Vijayanagar. As discussed earlier, particularly there were four major dynasties that ruled consecutively from 1336. Starting with particularly was Sangam dynasty, followed by Salua, Tuluva and Aravidu dynasty. Now, the region of Vijayanagar encompassed majorly the parts of Karnataka, certain parts of Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, then also certain parts of Goa, Chaul and Dabol, which is located in Maharashtra. Okay? So let's understand about them. So as per historian B.L. Rice and P.B. Desai, okay? So there was a person named as Sangam and he was working in the court of Veer Ballal III. And Veer Ballal III was the ruler of Hoysala dynasty. Okay? And Sangam had majorly 5 sons, but 2 of them gained prominence in the book of history. One was Harihara and Bukka, and both of them were also the feudatories of the Hoysala rulers. Okay? Let's understand the theory. Please do not get confused. Okay. Historian, particularly BL, what we say, Rice and PB Desai. They said that particularly Harihar and Bukka, who laid the foundation of Sangam dynasty, they were the feudatories of Hoysalas. Okay? So, there was a person named as Sangam. And Sangam had 5 sons. 2 of them gained prominence in history. One was Harihar and the other one was Bukka. Okay? And particularly speaking, during the time of Sangam itself, there was a place that was established, or there was a dynasty that was established at a place called as Hosapatan in 1336. And later on, this kingdom was referred as Vijayanagar Empire. So this is how Harihar and Bukka, it is believed that they had a Kannada origin. Okay? In fact, Harihar assumed exalted title. Like we have seen in the ancient India, we have seen about the Gupta dynasty rulers, particularly the Gupta rulers such as Vikramaditya, Chandragupta II. They assumed exalted titles such as Param Bhagavat, Parameshwar, Param Bhatarak, Maharaja Dhiraj. Similarly, Harihar at that time had assumed a title that is Purva Paschim Samudra Samudrishwar. In simple words, master of the ocean in the east and the west. So this was a title assumed by Harihar I. One theory. Another important theory comes from a book, Forgotten Empire of Vijayanagar. And this book, Forgotten Empire of Vijayanagar, was being written by Robert Sewell. Okay? Now let's understand about this. This book was written by Robert Sewell. Please do not get confused. Listen to me carefully, because all these concepts are very important from the exam perspective. So there's a book written by Robert Sewell, The Forgotten Empire. Okay, and in that book it is mentioned that Kakatiyas were ruling in the region of Warangal, precisely in the region of Telangana. And this region was being occupied particularly by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Okay? And at that time, the ruler was Pratap Rudradev. So, there were 2 brothers who were feudatories to Kakatiyas of Warangal, Harihar and Bukka. Please understand this. There were 2 brothers, Harihar and Bukka, who were feudatories to Kakatiyas of Warangal. The Kakatiyas of Warangal were being defeated by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. These 2 brothers were being captured, and as per historian Farishta, they were forcefully converted into Islam. After some time, Harihar and Bukka, they came in the state of Kampili, located in Karnataka. And here they met a saint referred as Vijayanagar. And specifically, he asked them to get converted into old fold of Hinduism and re-establish their kingdom. So on the insistence of a guru, on the insistence of a saint, Vijayanagar, they established particularly another important kingdom which is referred as Vijayanagar or Vijaynagar, city of victory. So there are these 2 opinions regarding the establishment of Vijayanagar Empire. Okay? So please do not get confused about their origin. I'll repeat the points again in short. Just pay attention carefully. Just hold on for a second. Okay. Different historians, different opinions. So we have to remember both the opinions. Getting the points? Wherever you feel like you're not getting the point, please stop me there itself and ask a question. Okay. Now pay attention. Vijayanagar Empire, it actually, the foundation was being laid down approximately around 1336. Vijayanagar encompasses the region of Karnataka, certain parts of Andhra, Telangana, certain parts of Maharashtra, particularly the region of Chaul and Dabol, which was later under the rule of Bahamanis, and certain parts of Goa, certain parts of Tamil Nadu. Okay? Now, as per historian B.L. Rice and P.B. Desai, the Sangam, there was a person named as Sangam. He had 5 sons. two among them were prominent, whose name were Harihar and Bukka, and both of them were the feudatories of the Hoysala dynasty rulers ruling in the region of Karnataka. Precisely Dwar Samudra, and the ruler's name was Veer Ballal III. Okay? And in 1336 itself, they had established a kingdom at Hosapatan. And when the Hoysalas declined, they, established another important kingdom in the form of Vijayanagar Empire. In fact, Harihar, he assumed the titles such as Purva Paschim Samudrishwar, that is master of the oceans in the east and the west. One theory. Second theory given from a book called as Forgotten Empire, written by Robert Sewell. They believed that Kakatiyas were ruling in the region of Warangal, presently Telangana. And at that time, this region was being attacked by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And Pratap Rudradev, he lost. In that case, the two brothers, Harihar and Bukka, were forcefully converted into Islam. And later on, they came and settled in the region of Kampili, precisely in the region of Karnataka. On the insistence of a guru, on the insistence of a saint, referred as Vidyaranya, they established an independent dynasty in the form of Vijayanagar or Vijayanagar Empire. So this is how Harihar and Bukka played a very crucial role in establishment of Vijayanagar Empire. Clear, guys? Do you have any confusion? I've mentioned everything as a part of the PPT. So please do not worry about this. This point I have explained in the form of a chart for easier understanding of the concept. Okay? And you can download the PDF or the PPT from the Telegram channel history_Alok Ojha. Okay? Now let's move further. Yes, Nisha, you have a question. What is Hospatan? Hospatan is a name of a place. Okay? Like as I've told you, Vijayanagar, it encompassed different region. So the place from where the kingdom was initiated was referred as Hospatan. Is the point clear, Nisha? Okay. Now let's understand about Harihar II. So we are going to focus majorly on 2 to 3 rulers. Okay? I've talked about whom? I have already spoken about. Yes, one more thing. There are many questions particularly on the terminologies in the ancient India. There are many questions particularly on what? There are many questions on the titles that have been assumed. Correct? Like I'll give you a small example. Purab Paschim title was assumed by whom? Vedic Marg Sthapanacharya was a title assumed by whom? Who constructed or who, further reconstructed the Virupaksha temple? Or the Virupaksha temple located in the capital Hampi was being reconstructed during the time of which ruler? Which ruler was the first to induce or first to include Muslims in their army, and there were more than 10,000 soldiers 10,000 Muslim soldiers as a part of his infantry. These are not the questions that I'm saying on my own. These are the questions as a part of the statements, guys. Okay? So here we have understood about the concept of Harihar and Bukka. Now we are going to focus majorly on 3 important rulers of Sangam dynasty. Very important, guys, okay? The first one we are going to focus is on Harihar II. After Harihar II, we will focus on Deva Raya I, followed by Deva Raya II. Okay? Because after that, Virupaksha, who comes to power, he was being overthrown by Narasimha Saluva. And there's a dynastic revolution because Sangam dynasty comes to an end. Okay? Now listen to me carefully. Okay? Suppose this is Vijayanagar Empire, which it is expanding in different directions. Okay? and it has a center in the region of Karnataka because major part of the territories of Vijayanagar was in Karnataka with its capital at Hampi. And from all the sides, Vijayanagar was continuously being attacked by different enemies. Like the most competent enemy to destroy the kingdom of Vijayanagar, and they continuously had an eye over the kingdom of Vijayanagar, was Bahamani. Okay, moving ahead in the eastern part, Bahamani, they majorly covered southern part and western part, and very little part of Maharashtra, that is northern part. So Bahamani were located in this manner. Okay. Now, moving in this direction further, there were Reddis in the region of Andhra Pradesh, precisely in the region of Kondavidu. And just beyond Andhra Pradesh, in the region of Telangana, there were Velamas. Okay? I'll repeat the points again for easier understanding. Suppose this is Vijayanagar, encompassing the major part of Karnataka. Certain territories in the north of Vijayanagar, in the west of Vijayanagar, and in the south of Vijayanagar were being surrounded by Bahamanis. So obviously, they'll have skirmish with Bahamanis. Now moving towards the eastern part. So in the eastern direction, Vijayanagar had three major enemies. Yes, Prince, hello? They had three major enemies. One was Reddis of Kondavidu, particularly Andhra. Beyond Andhra, in the region of Telangana, were Velamas. And beyond that, particularly Eastern Ganga, precisely the region of Kaling, that is Gajapati. We have studied about the Gajapatis in the region of Odisha, if you remember. Okay. So, understand this. Harihara II, he was facing problem with whom? On the north, west and south, he had problems with Bahamani, who had a good control over this region. Here, they had a problem with Reddy. Apart from Reddy, Velamas. Apart from Velamas, Gajapati. And he was expanding more towards the eastward during his initial campaign. Why? Because one who has an access towards the coastal region, in that case, what will happen? He'll have a good command over the trade. Isn't that so? Right from the ancient India, right from the medieval India, I'm continuously saying about this. Why Alauddin Khilji focused on Malwa? Why Alauddin Khilji focused on Gujarat? Why Ghazni focused on that region? In the coming years, why Mughals will majorly focus on Gujarat and Malwa? Vibrant trade. Why coastal region? Correct? Similarly here, this person wanted a vibrant trade in the region of East. So since he wanted a vibrant trade in the region of East, he had to face them, Reddis, Velamas and Gajapatis. In that case, he was very successful. And in that case, he acquired the region of Srishailam from the Reddis. Once he acquired the region of Srishailam, what happens? Certain parts of Reddis will come to or would be added in the Vijayanagar kingdom. The next enemy that will come here is Velamas of Telangana. They were being also defeated. And the next region that was major, good trade that region was having was between the Nellore district in Andhra and the Kalinga region. That was also acquired. So in the eastern coast, Harihara II, who was being succeeded by Bukka Rai, what happened? He defeated every one of them. Okay? And in this part, what happened? Bahamanis, from the Bahamanis, he had occupied the region of Goa. He had occupied the region of Chaul, which is located in Rayagada district of Maharashtra, and he had occupied Dabhol, which is located in Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra. So Harihar II, he followed the policy of expansionism. He followed the policy of imperialism, and he was quite successful. In fact, many of them says that he had led twice expeditions to northern part of Ceylon, that is Sri Lanka, and he was also very much successful in both the expeditions in the what we say region of Sri Lanka. So that was about Harihar II. Okay, so please do not get confused. Yes, Shushmita, hi, good afternoon. The class timing is around 3 p.m. every day. Initially, the classes were at 1 p.m. Okay, but due to certain, what we say, changes, the classes have been shifted to 3 p.m. Every day, the classes would be at 3 p.m. Okay, I'll repeat the points again in short. Harihar II, Harihar and Bukka, Harihar I and Bukka, both were founders of Vijayanagar Empire. Bukka Rai was being succeeded by his son, whose name was Harihar II. Okay, Harihar II, as soon as he sat on the throne, he followed the policy of imperialism and expansionism. He expanded particularly to the east and the west, majorly towards the east. He defeated the Reddis of Kondavidu and acquired the region of Srisailam, Andhra. Apart from this, he defeated the Velamas, particularly in the region of Telangana. Apart from this, it is said that he also defeated certain Gajapati rulers. Okay, he occupied the stretch between Kaling and Nellore. Moving towards the western part, he defeated the Bahamanis and acquired certain parts of Goa from them, certain parts of Chaul, which is located in Raya district of Maharashtra, and Dabhol, which is located in Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra. So this was about his policy of expansionism. Got it? Now let's understand about the titles that were being assumed by Harihar II. Like Harihar II, he was also known for what we say his different Vedic practices. Okay, like many Vedic practices got revamped during his time. Like I'll give you a very simple example about the Guptas. If you remember about the ancient India, and in ancient India we had studied in quite depth and detail about the Gupta rulers. Correct? So I have told you one thing. Okay? What was that? And in that case, specifically, as I have told you in the ancient India, after later Vedic civilization, there was decline in what we say early Vedic practices. And there was rise of different religions in the form of Buddhism and Jainism. But with arrival of Guptas, there was revival of Sanskrit literature. Correct? There were performance of lot many Vedic sacrifices. We have studied that in the Gupta rulers. Correct? Like there were many Gupta rulers who were followers of Vaishnavism. A very small example, Chandragupta II, who is also referred as Vikramaditya or Simha Vikram. He assumed the title Param Bhagwat. And what's Param Bhagwat? Param Bhagwat basically means worshipper of Lord Krishna. Apart from this, they performed lot many Ashwamedha Yagya. Samudragupta, he performed lot many Ashwamedha Yagya. Kumar Gupta, who laid the foundation of Nalanda University, which was being later on destroyed by Bhaktiar Khilji. He also performed many Ashwamedh Yagya, and he was referred as Ashwamedha Mahendra. Similarly here, Harihar II, he revived different Vedic practices. Hence he is also referred as Veda Marg Sthapanacharya or Veda Marg Pravartak. That is the proponent of that region. The proponent of that, what we say, text. So I repeat, Ved Marg Pravartak and Ved Marg Sthapanacharyak were the titles assumed by Harihar II. This not only exemplifies one thing, but also exemplifies one thing. Apart from being the followers of Hinduism, Vijayanagar dynasty rulers also patronized, revered and respected various other religions. Example, there was a Jain scholar, there was a Jain saint whose name was Madura. So Madura was being patronized by Harihar II. So this simply exemplifies about what? This simply exemplifies about the liberal religious attitude of the Vijayanagar dynasty rulers. So this is majorly about whom? This is majorly about the Harihar II. Hope you understood the point, guys. Yes. Yes, Prince Harihara and Bukka were brothers. Hampi was a capital of the Vijayanagar rulers. Okay. Now, one of the major incidences I'll speak about Deva I is how Deva I he came in conflict with whom? Deva I he came in conflict with. Yes, Sushmita, Vedic civilization extends between 1500 to, that is early Vedic is 1500 to 1000 BC, and from 1000 to 600 BC is the later Vedic period. Okay. So coming back here, now listen to me. Deva I. Now, how this person, he directly came in contact or directly came in conflict with another person whose name was Tajuddin Firoz Shah. And who was Tajuddin Firoz Shah? He was one of the rulers of Bahmani Sultanate. Okay. Now, Deva I, let's understand about him. Apart from falling into conflict with what we say, this person Firoz Shah I, apart from losing many territories, okay, and after that regaining the territories, he had also done very important works. Like as I've told you, during the time of Harihara II, Gajapatis were being defeated. Gajapatis ruling in the region of eastern India, particularly around the region of Kaling. The, what we say, Reddis were defeated of Kondavedu. Velamas of Telangana were defeated. Now again he had to fight with all of them. And majorly he had to fight with whom? He majorly had to fight with Firoz Shah, the Bahmani Sultan. And how the battle ensued between them? So, whatever I'm saying you right now, or whatever story that I'm going to narrate in front of you right now, okay, very little sources have authenticated that story, but at that time the contemporary historian was Farishta. Okay, so Farishta, he had narrated one story that how Deva I and Firoz Shah, both of them came in conflict with each other. Okay, and how the Battle of Panagal, it proved to be a turning point for this person, Deva I. Okay, so let's understand about this. Now it is believed that Deva I am again saying this story has been narrated by the contemporary historian of that time, Farishta. This story also finds mention in the book Forgotten Empire, written by Robert Sewell. And what's the story? Deva I, the ruler of Vijayanagar Empire, particularly the Sangam dynasty, he falls for one of the girl, particularly in the region of Mudgal. Now his father, some say that his father was a goldsmith. Some do believe that his father was a farmer. So what happened? Initially, he proposed for the marriage which was being declined. Now Deva I, he got so infuriated, Deva I, he got so angry that he started plundering the region around what we say Mudgal. Okay? And when he started plundering the region around Mudgal, what happened at that time? These regions actually came in the territory of Bahmanis. And this is how Firoz Shah, he got infuriated. Okay? Firoz Shah got infuriated. So Firoz Shah, he initially tried to acquire the different parts around the Raichur Doab. Now Raichur Doab, particularly, it is the area which encompasses between two rivers, Krishna and Tungabhadra. So what happened? The Raichur Doab, which was a bone of contention since the long time between the Vijayanagar and Bahmani, was now being occupied by Firoz Shah. Why? Because this battle was being initiated by Deva I. Okay? I'll repeat the point again. Farishta and Robert Sewell mentioned that Deva Raya I fell for a girl, particularly around the region of Mudgal, and he wanted to marry her, which was being declined by her father, who was a goldsmith or a farmer. Now, he started attacking the villages around that region, and these villages were a part of Bahmani Sultanate. And this actually infuriated Firoz Shah, the entire name Tajuddin Firoz Shah, who was the ruler of Bahmani kingdom. And so, it is said that he occupied, like almost for 4 months, there was a battle. And he occupied the region of Raichur Doab, which is located between Krishna and Tungabhadra river. Okay? Now what happened further? Now at this particular point of time, Deva Raya I had to keep his position intact. And diplomatically, Deva Raya I married one of his daughters to Firoz Shah. Apart from this, he had to give lot of pearls, lot of gold, lot of horses, lot many elephants. Apart from this, he had to pay a huge war indemnity. Okay, and the major part is he had to forcibly marry one of his daughters. So there could be a truce. There could be a treaty, peace treaty between both of them. For some time, things went well. But later on, what happened? Firoz Shah, he wanted to take the advantage because, as I've told you, he had already captured the region of Raichur Doab. Okay? After some time, what happened? The, what we say, Reddis, who were ruling in the region of Kondavedu, they declined. And when they declined, this was seen as an opportunity by Bahmanis. So Bahmani came here, and Bahmani, after Reddis, they attacked directly the region of Warangal. Okay, Velamas. This was seen as an opportunity by Deva Raya I when this person, who Firoz Shah, he is busy in war. With whom? The Reddis and the, what we say, Warangal, Velamas. This is an opportunity for me because continuously there is a siege for 2 years in the region around Panagal. And Panagal, this region is located in Telangana. Firoz Shah's army are thwarted. With the passage of time, the morale of these people are declining. This is an opportunity to regain the lost territories. And now it is said that Deva Raya I, who had initially lost the territories in the region of Raichur Doab to Firoz Shah, saw this as an opportunity and occupied these territories back again. Okay? So this was majorly about Deva Raya I. So how he occupied these territories? Did you understand? Shall I explain the point again? I'll explain the point again. So Deva Raya I, like the Harihara II, he had to face same problem. He had to face the problems with the Reddis of Kondavedu, Andhra Pradesh, Velamas of Telangana, Gajapatis. Okay? Now, apart from this, the most important problem that he had to face was with Firoz Shah, Bahmani Sultan, and I've told you the entire story. So Firoz Shah, he occupied the region of Raichur Doab located between Krishna and Tungabhadra river. In fact, it was so humiliating for Deva Raya ji, that particularly he had to, what we say, marry his daughter. Apart from marrying his daughter, he had to give huge war indemnity, elephants, horses, pearls, gold, everything to Firoz Shah. Now, after some time, there was a decline of Reddis, and Warangal was also declining. So Firoz Shah attacked the region of Warangal, precisely Panagal in Telangana. This was seen as an opportunity by Deva Raya I to reoccupy the lost territories. Okay, so in this manner, he reoccupied the lost territories. Apart from this, Deva Raya I, he had done many works, particularly for the irrigation. Okay, like specifically, I'll tell you, if you remember the Sangam age that we had studied, there were, like, I'll give you a small hint. Answer this in the comment section. Who constructed the famous Kalanai Dam? Yes, who constructed the famous Kalanai Dam? And the major purpose for constructing the Kalanai Dam at that time was irrigation, particularly for the peasants of southern India. Similarly, Deva Raya I, he focused majorly on irrigation and he constructed a dam across a river called as Haridra. So you have to remember the name of the river, River Haridra. Like a dam was being constructed on the bank of this river, particularly for the purpose of irrigation. Okay. Now let's understand about the titles of Deva Raya I and the things about Deva Raya I at that time. Okay. Now, let me go into a bit of background for easier understanding of the concept so that I can correlate different factors. Okay. If I ask you, what were the major reasons for success of Muhammad Ghori? Or if I ask a question, what were the major reasons for success of Mahmud of Ghazni? Or for that sake, what were the major reasons for success of Alauddin Khilji in his South Indian expeditions, particularly under Malik Kafur? Okay. So there are ample of reasons about this. Yes, Prince, thanks a lot for the compliment. So one of the major reasons was what? They used techniques in the warfare. They had special archers. Now, during the initial days, why our rulers were not successful against these Islamic invaders? First reason was what? Our actual military design was in the very traditional pattern. We focused majorly on elephants. We focused majorly on the infantry. Correct? But what about the early Islamic invaders? They majorly focused on staggering cavalry, fast-moving cavalry. Isn't that so? Alauddin Khilji had given you a small example. He had introduced Dag and Chehra system. And there were more than 475,000 cavalrymen as a part of his army. Apart from this, we used to fight with traditional techniques, and apart from that, usually the army unit was divided into three parts: left, right, center. On the other hand, the army unit precisely during the time of early Islamic invaders was divided into five parts: right, left, center, advance and reserve. They had separate archers. Okay, they had good musketeers. Okay, same technique for the first time was adopted by whom? By Deva Raya I. For the first time, or he was the first Hindu ruler to have more than 10,000 Muslim soldiers as a part of his infantry who were expert archers. And in fact, he asked the Hindu archers to learn the techniques of archery from these Muslim archers. So remember one thing, Deva Raya I was the first to include more than 10,000 Muslims as a part of his army. Okay? One thing. Another important aspect that you need to remember about Deva Raya I, an Italian traveler, Niccolo Conti, and Russian merchant whose name was Nikitin, okay, author of the book Voyage to India, visited during the time of Deva Raya I. Out of this, there was a question asked in the UPSC examination. Niccolo Conti was one of the Italian traveler who visited India during the reign of. So he visited India during the reign of Sangam dynasty ruler Deva Raya I. Okay. Apart from this, what all we need to remember about Deva Raya I, because there are many things associated with Deva Raya I. Okay. Deva Raya I had one of his wife whose name was Bhima Devi. Okay. And Bhima Devi, she was disciple of a Jain guru whose name was Abhinav Charu Kirti. Deva Raya I, okay, he had one of his wife whose name was Bhim Devi. And she was a disciple of a Jain guru, a Jain scholar whose name was Abhinav Charu Kirti. And Abhinav Charu Kirti, he was disciple of a Jain Tirthankar whose name was Shantinath. Correct? We have studied this as a part of Jainism, that Jainism totally has 24 Tirthankars. The first one being Rishabhnath Ji or Adinath Ji with symbol as bull. Okay. 23rd Tirthankar was Parshavnath Ji with symbol as snake. 24th Tirthankar was Vardhaman Mahavir Ji with symbol as lion. Similarly, as per Shwetambar and Digambar, as per Digambar, only males can attain moksha. And Shwetambar, rather it be a male or a female, both of them can attain moksha. So as per Digambar, all the Tirthankars are male. And as per Shwetambar, the 19th Tirthankar, Malli Baiji, was a female. Okay. So similarly, one such Tirthankar was Shantinath. So Abhinav Charu Kirti, okay, he was a worshipper of Shantinath. Worshipper, I'm not saying disciple. If I have said the word disciple, please, I'll take my words back. Okay, he was a worshipper of Shantinath. And he had wrote a commentary on the life of Shantinath, who was probably 15th or 16th Tirthankar of Jainism. Okay. And Abhinav Charu Kirti, he was also a guru to Bhima Devi. Who was Bhima Devi? Wife of Raya I. Okay. If you remember Harihara I, correct? And as I've told you about Harihara I, because he was referred as Ved Marg Pravartak, proponent of Vedic Hinduism. But apart from this, he still revered and respected various other religions. How did we know about that? There was a Jain scholar in the court of Harihar. Similarly, in the court of Deva Raya I, there was also a Jain scholar whose name was Madura. Okay, same thing. So please remember, Madura, a noted Jain scholar, a Jain poet, adorned his court. Okay. Then, Madura, he wrote an important book which is referred as Dharmanath Purana. This is about the life of 15th Tirthankar whose name was Dharmanath. Okay. So Madura, a Jain scholar or a Jain poet, was being patronized by Deva Raya I. Okay. Deva Raya I, he patronized him. Apart from this, Madura wrote a book called as Dharmanath Puran, which is a life of the 15th Jain Tirthankar, Dharmanath. One of the most important temple, Hazare Ram temple. Okay. It was being constructed during the time of Deva Raya I. So this is majorly about Deva Raya I. Hope you understood about this point. Yes. After this, we are going to study about Deva Raya II. See, there are certain things which are factual in nature. You have to remember that. What all things are conceptual, what all things are in the format of a story, I'm trying to narrate that. But the terminologies, the titles, the inscriptions, all these aspects you have to remember. Okay? Now, Deva Raya II. So, Deva Raya II, you will find him in the writings of Nunis. You will find him in the writings of Abdur Razak. Okay. You will find his mention in the writings of Farishta. You will find him mentioned in the writings of Robert Sewell. Okay. And why Deva Raya II is important, there's a reason behind that. And what was that reason? I'll tell you two major reasons. Okay. One major reason was Nyankar system. Okay, or the system of Nayaks. And the second major reason was Samu. Now you might be you might be astonished. Sir, what is Samu? Okay, so Samu, it's a martial art. You'll Google it, you'll come to know. And many historians, in fact, Robert Sewell in his book Forgotten Empire, also mention about this martial art, and he says that the origin of the martial art can be traced back to Vijayanagar ruler. Okay. Now, what is Nyankar system? Now, before I explain, as I've told you in the start of this session itself, Nyankar system is somewhat similar to feudalism that was prevalent in Europe and the Ikta system that was being initiated by slave dynasty ruler Iltutmish. So how it is somewhat similar, I'll give you a small example. If you remember, I'll give you another important example. If you remember ICTA system, in ICTA system I have told you, this system was being initiated by slave dynasty ruler Shamsuddin Iltutmish. Here, rather than giving a salary to the noble, a piece of land was being given to the noble. After getting the taxes from that piece of land, what will that noble do? He will keep his salary, and apart from that, the excess amount that was referred as fawazil was returned back to the administration. This system was called as ICTA system. And the holder of ICTA, holder of ICTA, he was called as Mukti, Wali or Iqtadar. True? ICTAs were not hereditary. They were transferable during the time of Iltutmish. Then comes a time of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He made ICTA system hereditary. So in simple words, what was ICTA? Rather than giving salary in cash, that noble, that minister, that person, he was given a piece of a land. Okay? What is feudalism? The word feudalism in Europe has been derived from the word fief, and fief basically means piece of land. Similarly, what is Nyankar system that majorly cropped up during the time of Deva Raya II? Nyankar system here basically says that, and there were more than 2000 Nyankars at that time. Okay, more than 2000 Nyankars. Now, rather than giving salary, what happened? Nayaks were being appointed, also referred as Amar Nayaks. Okay. And what was their responsibility? They had to take care of the administration of that particular region, that particularly areas for a amount of time that has been given to them. They had to pay a fixed tribute to the ruler that has been pre-decided. After keeping their own expenses, they had to pay a fixed tribute to the ruler. Apart from this, the Nayaks also had to provide the military services to the ruler. And this system is called as Nyankar system that was majorly being initiated by Deva Raya II. Okay? Then, he fought many battles. Like it is said that the combined army of Bahamani kingdom and the combined army of Bahamani and the Gajapatis who were ruling in the region of Odisha were being defeated by whom? Deva Raya II. And after that, he assumed the title Gajbetakar, which simply means hunter of elephants. Okay? Now, I'll give you a very small example. Like I've told you about Samu. And this Samu, also referred as a martial art, it finds mention in very few books. Okay? Like I'll give you a small example. Whenever I make the notes of history for giving you the PDF, I try to refer different sources. Particularly, I refer IGNU, I refer V.D. Mahajan, I refer Poonam Dalal Dahiya. And this concept, I did not find it anywhere. Surprisingly, I was reading one of the articles on Vijayanagar, so I came across Samu. And what is Samu system all about? It's a combat, it's a martial art. Like there's a martial art of Kerala which is referred as Kalairi Payattu, also referred as Kalairi Payat, correct? So it's a martial art in the region of Kerala. And Britishers have banned that martial art initially. True. So what is Samu? Samu here is person, his body is so flexible that in that case, he is expert in all sorts of warfare. For example, ambidextrous personality. What is ambidextrous personality? I'll give you a small example. Suppose I'm writing on the board and I'm using one of my hands for writing on the board. Correct? Like I'm writing from this side and I'm thinking on the other way, like I'm thinking. But what is ambidextrous personality? He's a multitasking personality. I'll write with this hand, I'll write with this hand. Apart from this, I'm thinking. Correct? What I'm writing here, what I'm writing here. So it requires multi-talented skill. Samu, a martial art, wherein person on one hand fights with a dagger. On the other hand, he fights with a sword. Apart from this, he uses his legs for all sorts of stretchable movements. So that was Samu. And how is it depicted? I'll give you a very small example. And this was also highlighted by Robert Sewell in his book, The Forgotten Empire, which narrates that there was one of the nephews of Deva Raya II. And this person forcibly he wanted to acquire the kingdom around the region of Hampi. So this nephew, he had made a plan. He had made a plot. Because he knew that Deva Raya II is a very competent personality. Why he was a competent personality? Because I'll give you a small example. Nunes, a Portuguese writer, as I've given you, he has mentioned there the kings of Quilon, that is Kerala, Sri Lanka, Palikat, Pegu, Burma, okay, all of them were paying tribute to whom? Deva Raya II. So he was that competent enough. So in that case, in direct warfare, it is not easier to defeat him. So we can kill the king Deva Raya II in a treacherous manner. So what happened? One of his nephew, he was being supported by the Bahmani sultans in that case. And Bahmani sultan said that, please arrange a feast, please arrange a meeting of us where it would be a meeting on truce, a peace treaty. And wherein we will decide that from now onwards, we are not going to encroach in each other's territories and we are not going to fight. Okay? So, actually they had a very different plan. So what happened? The nephew of Deva Raya II, he told him that Bahmani wants to enter into peace treaty with you. So he said that I have already defeated Bahmani's combined army of Bahmani and Gajapatis. So he said that hence they want a peace treaty. Okay. So there was a basic pavilion that was being constructed. Bahmani Sultan was being called in. And Deva Raya II, he became a bit late to come. Okay. And Deva Raya II, he came along with many of his commanders at that time. Many of his Nayaks at that time. As I've told you, Nyankar system was being started by him. And they were expert military commanders. Now, these Nayaks, they came early and Deva Raya II was a bit late for coming to this treaty, for coming to this place. Before Deva Raya II came, majority of the Nayaks were being killed by the nephew with the help of the Bahmanis. And the plan was, what will happen in that case? The plan was, there was a poisoned dagger. Okay, usually what happens? Whenever the king arrives, so there is a betel nut. Sorry, there's a, what we say, you might have heard about pan. Okay, so the king is given the pan. So the pan, like they'll have a golden plate in which all the pan would be kept. Okay, betel leaf and everything, it would be kept. And as soon as Deva Raya II will take it, what we'll do? We'll take this poisoned dagger and hit Deva Raya. Nephew came in a golden plate, he came with a pan. And hidden was a poisoned dagger. And he smelled something suspicious, Deva Raya II, because he could not see any one of his, what we say, Nayaks. He could not see any one of his military commanders. So he understood there might be certain plot that might be going behind my back. Okay. At that time, what happened? As soon as he picked up that, immediately a dagger was being taken by his nephew and he hit him with a dagger. As soon as he hit him with a dagger, he fell a bit apart, but immediately with one of his hand, he removed the sword and with the other hand, he took his dagger. Because apart from his nephew, there were many soldiers who were being surrounded, but what we say, there were many soldiers who were supporting his nephew. One hand, he killed his nephew with a dagger. With the other hand, he's fighting with a sword. With one hand, he's killing the other soldiers. So such a martial art where you have a complete control over your brain. Okay? And that martial art was Samu. Later on, that was practiced in the form of Kushti as well in different parts. So Samu, a martial art, is credited to Deva Raya II. So that was one of the interesting story about Deva Raya II. Okay? Then, if I speak about the literature part about Deva Raya II, you need to understand different facts about him. Okay. Like I'll give you a very simple example. You might have heard about Virupaksh temple located in Hampi. So although it's a 7th century, 8th century temple, but that temple construction, or it was being reconstructed and its area was being increased by a person referred as Lakan Dandsena. He was one of the military commanders of Deva Raya II. So one of the most important aspect that you need to remember, the Virupaksha temple located in Hampi was being reconstructed by Lakan Dandsena, one of the military commanders, one of the Nayaks of Deva Raya II. Got it? He had the title Gajbetakar. And what is Gajbetakar? We had seen. Gajbetakar basically means hunter of the elephants. Now let's understand some factual part. Okay. During his time, Kannada literature was at its peak. Apart from this, the well-known works such as, I'll give you a small example, Sobagin Son and Amaruka, which is a translation of a well-known Sanskrit work, that is Amaru Shatak, collection of 100 poems. So it is credited to whom? It is credited to Deva Raya II. Okay. There were many Kannada poets at that time who were being patronized by him. Like as we have seen previously about the poet Madura, who was being patronized by Harihara and Deva Raya I, both. Similarly, there was a Kannada poet referred as Chamaras. Okay, he was being patronized by Deva Raya II. Okay. Another Sanskrit poet whose name was Gunda Dimdima. Okay, so he was also being patronized by Deva Raya II. So what do you need to remember? There were different, what we say, texts that were being translated into Kannada language, such as Sobagin Son and Amaruka, which is a collection of 100 poems, particularly in Sanskrit language. One more important work that you need to remember about him, Mahanatak Sudha Nidhi. So these works are attributed to Deva Raya. He patronized two major scholars at that time, Chamaras and second is Gunda Dimdima. So just remember these things about him. Virupaksha temple was being reconstructed during his time. Okay. So please remember about him. He was being succeeded by a person whose name was Mallikarjun. Mallikarjun was competent, but not that competent in comparison to his father or the previous rulers like Harihara, Bukka, Deva Raya I, Deva Raya II. Okay. So in that case, there was a person whose name was Narsimha Saluva. And from now onward, there comes a turning point in the history of Vijayanagar Empire, because the power starts drifting in the hands of the Saluvas. So Mallikarjun was being succeeded by another person, Virupaksh. And Virupaksh was being overthrown by Narsimha Saluva, and there comes a dynastic revolution wherein the Sangam dynasty now gets replaced by Saluva dynasty. Okay, so particularly speaking, after Deva Raya II comes the weak successors. Okay, among the weak successor was Mallikarjun and Virupaksh. Mallikarjun came into prominence during the time of whom? Saluva Narsimha. And from now onwards, there was beginning of dynastic revolution. Finally comes Virupaksha II. And Virupaksha was being overthrown finally by Saluva Narsimha, and this led to dynastic revolution. Correct? And in that case, there was establishment of another important dynasty that is referred as Saluva dynasty. Hope you understood this, guys. Yes. Is there any query, any doubt? Charitha, you have a question, and the question is like, is this martial art still prevalent or still is it not prevalent? The answer to this is like, it is prevalent, but in a splintered manner. Okay, It had assumed different forms. Like as I've told you, it has assumed one of the forms of kushti. Okay, it's a combat thing. So majorly it is prevalent. Do not worry about this in certain parts. Okay, but not in the original form. Okay, guys. So just a factual part now. As I've told you about Niccolo Conti, an Italian traveler. Okay, precisely he was a Venetian traveler. Venice, it's a city of Italy. So he had crossed the Arabian Sea. He came to Cambay in Gujarat and traveled to India, particularly to the region of Vijayanagar. Okay. And one of the best thing was he called Telugu language as Italian of the East. So please remember about this. So Niccolo Conti, he was a traveler who came during the time of Vijayanagar Empire. Okay. Apart from this, remember about whom? Abdur Razak. He also has thrown light on the Vijayanagar Empire. Niccolo Conti, Abdur Razak and Nuniz was the other person who has thrown light particularly on the rule of Vijayanagar Empire. So his name was Fernão Nuniz. So just remember them. As I've told you, I've already explained about them, their role, correct? So it is just mention of them here. So remember about them, Niccolo Conti, Italian traveler. Then also remember about Nikitin, a Russian merchant, Fernão Nuniz, and then remember about Abdur Razak. Okay? Charita, you have a question. Why the big kings, weak successors come in every dynasty? Why they are weak? Okay. I was watching one of the good reels on Instagram, and that reel goes like, at that time, like you might have heard about, I cannot recollect it right now, okay, the entire reel, but the reel was like, tough time creates strong men. Okay, strong men create good time. Good times create weak men creates weak time. I'll repeat, try to correlate this. Weak time creates strong men. Okay, or tough time creates strong men. Strong men create strong time. Strong time create weak men. Weak men create weak times. Raya I, he followed the policy of expansionism. He followed the policy of imperialism. Raya II did that. Harihara II did that. But in that case, what happens? The successors who have come, they have given more time to merrymaking. They have given more time to intoxication. And that became one of the major reasons for the decline. Why were the initial Mughal rulers successful and not the later Mughal rulers in comparison to the previous one? Why was Akbar that successful? Because he was considered as one of the greatest ruler of the medieval India. But his son Salim or Jahangir, hardly there was increase in the kingdoms, what we say territories during the time of Jahangir. What was the reason behind that? So in that case, what happens? Merrymaking. Apart from this, intoxication. Apart from this, internal strife between the different nobles. Unable to have a good command over the nobles becomes one of the major reasons for decline of their kingdom. Hope, Charitra, I have answered your question. Okay, guys, did you understand the Vijayanagar part 1, particularly about the Sangam age? Yes? Okay. So, guys, resolution P2I batch, which is completely in English medium, the batch is going to start on 25th of July. Okay? The code that is flashing on your screen, Alok Live, you can use the code to get the benefits of this batch. The batch will cater to the needs of the students precisely from Southern India and Northeastern India because it is completely and corely in English language. First thing, proper answer writing practice. Proper focus on the key aspect. Like I have told you, I have talked about the Vijayanagar Empire here. Here I would be going in more depth when I'll try to explain you these concepts. Okay, guys? So the fees is also quite affordable. Apart from this, I'll also tell you, like IBACIO, Ministry of Home Affairs have come up with many posts. And in that case, this is also one of the best opportunity. It just clicked my mind right now. You have one of the best opportunities that you can also go for IBACIO. And StudyIQ IS English has started with a course on that. It is also very quite affordable, and in that case, you can also opt out for that course by using my code that is flashing on your screen. It is a very minimum price. So fill up the form of IB. It's my personal suggestion. It's up to you. In that case, course is quite affordable. You can just use the code Alok Live that is flashing on your screen. Okay? And you can go to the website. You will get to know about all the things in quite depth and detail. So tomorrow I'll be coming at 3 o'clock. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.